Hey, welcome to Satisfy YouTube channel. In my channel, we talk about personal finance, money, and using your cat for internet views. As promised, today I'm going to talk about my second job, which is being a tuition teacher. By sharing my experience as a tutor, I hope it will help those who are looking at doing tutoring as a sideline or even a main job. As I mentioned in my previous video, I actually became a tutor while doing my insurance job. It was actually a sideline to supplement my income. So I started with 3 students at first. My friend actually didn't want to teach anymore. So he passed me this pair of brothers as well as their neighbor. So every week I'll go down to the same neighborhood and have back-to-back lessons with the 2 brothers as well as their neighbor. So at the time, my hourly rate was actually very low. I actually maintained the same hourly rate that my friend was charging them, which was as low as $15 per hour. But it was twice a week, so it added up to a few $100s every month. And at that time, I was only earning about $1,000 per month because I was trying to be ethical and selling things like term insurance and hospitalization policies. So my hourly rate back then was very low. It was only like $15 to $20. And I'll go every Tuesday and Thursday for 4.5 hours each. So every day I went there, I was earning about $75. So $75 times 2, 150 times 4 weeks a month. It was about $600 on top of my income. So it was a nice supplement to a $1,000 income, and in total I earned about $1,600, which is more sustainable than a $1,000 income. So after a few months of teaching these students, I actually realized that, hey, I actually quite like teaching, and it was very predictable and reliable source of income, and therefore I started to expand my student base. So as we all know, tuition is a billion-dollar industry in Singapore, so there's no shortage of students who actually require tutoring. So one way of increasing my student base was to list myself in as many tuition portals as I can, and there are actually quite a lot of these websites in Singapore. So such agencies will try to match you with a student, and they'll take half of your first month's taking. So if you charge like $360, they'll take $180 for the first month. After that, the student is yours, and all the income thereafter will be yours to keep. As a new tutor, such websites are very helpful because they can help you expand your reach to as many students as possible when you still don't have a sizable student base to refer you students. The second way of getting more students is through word of mouth, and it's actually a very powerful tool to get more students. So if you do a good job with your students and you build a rapport with them, they will sometimes refer you to their friends, or the parents themselves, sometimes they have a lot of friends with kids, and if they like you enough, they will pass you their contact. The third way I got students was through family and friends who themselves were also tutors. So my mom is actually a tutor, and when she had students that she didn't want to teach at that time, she actually passed them to me. And I also have friends who were in the tutoring line, and they didn't teach secondary school, so when their primary school students graduated, they would refer the contact to me, and I could continue teaching them from secondary school level onwards. Alternatively, you can also consider joining a tuition center. Now, a tuition center can provide you with students and also a proper teaching place, so you can actually have more students rather than teaching individually. See the description below for more details. So soon, my student base began to grow, and very quickly, it overtook my insurance earnings, and it started becoming my main job, and insurance now started becoming a Now, being a tutor is quite nice in a few ways. First of all, you get to decide your own schedule. So if you feel like you do not want to teach on a Friday, right, it's entirely up to you to schedule your week to be free of lessons on Friday. Conversely, if you want to work more, you're free to fill your week with lessons if you can find enough students. For a couple of years, I was actually working 7 days a week because I was trying to maximize my earning potential. So if you're looking for a side hustle that can suit your schedule, tutoring is perfect for it because you can actually schedule it after work or during the weekends, and it's up to you to manage your time with your students. Another nice thing about tutoring is that the hourly rate can be quite attractive. Although I started from $15 per hour, I began to increase my asking fee when my students started to show results, and of course, my schedule started to become more and more packed. These days, I charge a lot more than $15 per hour for my individual lessons, and I actually mostly teach group lessons. So how much you can charge is dependent on how good you are at tutoring someone, and also how well you can market yourself to demand the asking rate that you're asking for. Now lastly, I find that tutoring is a job that actually doesn't feel like one because I actually enjoy teaching, especially subjects like additional mathematics where the students tend to be smarter, and so I actually just have to focus my time and energy into explaining concepts to them. And as you know, I'm actually quite good at that.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody.
The job satisfaction is also quite fast to actualize, and it's actually very visible because when your students do well, it's actually very apparent. They'll be very happy, their parents will be very happy, and everybody is happy. Unlike insurance where you can sell a very good policy to your clients, but they don't really appreciate the impact of what you've done for them. Now, like any other job, tutoring also comes with its share of challenges. Obviously, you need to be able to deal with kids, and it's not as straightforward as being very patient with some of them, because some of them actually respond better when you're fierce, others respond better when you're trying to be their friend, and some other people, of course, they respond better when you're patient with them. So I find myself having to be many different kind of characters to different students that I meet over the years. And I feel that this is more difficult than the teaching process itself, right? Knowing how to approach each kid so that you can effectively deliver the subject matter to them. You can be extremely well versed in the subject, but if the kid doesn't listen to you, there's nothing you can do to help the child learn better. And if they don't learn, they don't score well, and soon the parents will pull them out from your class. I find that it can be quite an emotionally laborious job as well, because the kids, sometimes they don't do their work, or sometimes they skip lessons, or they are just not bothered with the lesson at all. And it can be very frustrating because I really want them to do well and I'm really trying my best to make them improve, but they don't appreciate it, and I think that can be quite emotionally taxing sometimes. And like any other people-centric job, you sometimes meet with unreasonable customers. So I used to have a parent who would call me every week on Sundays at 10 p.m. and would spend more than an hour talking about her child's progress, which I felt was really unreasonable because you are actually eating into my rest time. And I was working 7 days a week that time, so downtime to me is extremely important. I also encountered a parent who wouldn't pay the fees after a few lessons with a child. Exam was over and she decided to just disappear and ghost me. I found that really hurtful because I put in the effort to teach your child and you decide not to pay my due fees. So I actually felt really hurt about that. Thankfully, unreasonable customers tend to be a very small minority, and most of my kids and parents are all very lovable people, and I thank them for entrusting their child's education with me. Now, lastly, while the hours as a tutor may be flexible, they must be during after school hours, which means weekday afternoons to evenings as well as weekends. This means that when my friends are meeting each other on weekday nights for dinner, I usually am working and cannot meet them. And on the weekends, I also have lessons, so I can't join them on Saturdays. And when I'm free during the weekday afternoons, they are not free because they're working, so it's very difficult for me to meet my friends. Overall, I think that being a tutor is actually quite a good side hustle for many people. It has a fairly flexible schedule, and the pay is actually relatively high per hour. You can choose to teach a few lessons during the weekends and earn some side income so that you can save more, invest more, and reach your retirement earlier. We all live that fire dream, so tuition is one way that we can actually reach there faster. In this day and age, I think it's quite important to diversify one's income sources. When COVID hit, I think a lot of people got retrenched and many industries got affected heavily. Luckily, tuition was not one of them as we pivoted to online lessons and thus was not badly affected. I think being a tutor full-time is a whole different ballgame from trying to teach on the weekends as a side hustle. First of all, you need to find enough students to earn a sustainable income. You need a proper place to teach. And also, you need to be your own customer service and handle invoicing and billing on your own. And during the year end, your income usually dwindles to nearly nothing. As a full-time career, you may consider joining a tuition center instead. A tuition center will provide you with students, a proper place to teach, and also handle administrative things like invoicing, billing for you, so you don't have to handle all those things yourself. And during your year end, your paychecks with a tuition center will be more reliable because as students go on their holiday, you will likely be redeployed to doing things like curriculum development and still get to earn some money. So once again, if you're interested to find out more, check out my link below. So I hope my video was useful to you, or if you're just here to capo about my life, I'm very happy to share. Drop me a like and watch my other videos, and do consider subscribing if you find such content interesting. And I'll see you next video. Because the tuition center will probably